Ladies and gentlemen, welcome in to another episode of Going the JC Route. I'm JC. The boys are back, and let's get us in our rightful positions. There we go. Uh, we are happy to be here. This is a magnitudinous week.
Magnitudes.
That's a
I think
word.
that's a word. I think that's a word. Um,
I mean, it'll be in the dictionary sometime, maybe. If it's not,
this week is massive for multiple reasons. As most people are aware, it's Red River Week. It's the week that anybody from the states of Texas and Oklahoma look forward to every single year, and some surrounding states because they like to see us pain. But nevertheless, we'll get to our preview here in a little bit. But first, we have some other business to attend to. And leading off the show, we are going to talk about the Dallas
Or
Cowboys.
you want to? Oh, we're starting with the
Yup.
Cowboys. Oh, my bad.
yep.
The
Uh,
Dallas Football Cowboys. Because after coming off of a week where they fully decided to become a hens and lay eggs, they turn around and slap around Bill Belichick the way they probably should.
Yeah, a slightly a
they
much less talented team than what we're going to face this week for sure. AJ,
Not only did and I'll keep it, and I'll be honest, I was working, so I didn't get to watch the whole game. But from my understanding, is we had another game where our offense didn't exactly carry very well, but our defense definitely carried the freight
yeah,
and laid it down on Mac Jones and the Patriots.
mm-hmm.
because the still, while I'm happy with the score, obviously, and handing Bill Belichick the loss of his career, the fact still remains that our offense only scored 2 touchdowns, and that
and
your defense can't score 14 points week in and week out. That's just
and
not.
if I can expand on what he was saying, like you're not even playing quality defenses. I mean, the defenses that you've played so far. I mean, maybe the Jets, but like none of these teams have been well rounded where you can be like, okay, we legitimately, did well against them. Not that you really needed it to, but this is the week where the red zone offense can really cost. Is going to really cost you. It's going to be a big key. When we're getting into the red zone and we can't score. Uh,
And
this
it
is a
and it
this is a
almost looks boring. It is very boring and bland offensive play calling when we get inside the 20, let alone inside the 10. And it's literally run twice, then pass. Or I know on the first time they got in the red zone last week, uh, it was a 20-yard ish throw to CD that they probably just wanted to be like, oh yeah, we can score in the red zone. That didn't come to fruition, but until
well,
later on in the game. But still, the fact remains that they have got to find some more creativity and better play calling to go against the scheme that opposing defenses are running. So
yep,
that's just my two
and
cents.
I mean, and the past 4 games, the schedule coming up. I mean, if you don't score red zones, you're not winning many more games.
No, because I don't know about you, I don't expect the boys to get 14 points off of defensive turnovers against the 49ers.
No, I mean you might, but uh, yeah, it's just going to be a struggle from here on out.
But we'll see. They looked good. They did what they should have done. But I just that's a theme, red zone, that has followed us week in and week out so far. And while the win is great and awesome, it's still like something that I hope is not ignored when practice has been happening this week.
Well, yeah, for me, it's like, yeah, I'm glad we took care of business minus the one game, but it's, now it's the Mickey Mouse schedule is over. All that, the 40, when scoring 40 points, close to 40 points every game, just about minus the Cardinals game. That's not going to happen probably for the rest of the year. I mean, you have some, you have the Niners coming up. Um, JC, you want to say something?
No, you're going.
Okay. You have the Niners coming up. You had to play at the Chargers. Um, so um, they're going to have to figure out uh, how to score in the red zone.
And hopefully they do. We'll see what happens. That as the season goes on, but I think where they are right now as a team, minus lack of red zone production, I think this is right around where we thought we would be. At best, 3-1 out of 4 games. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, boys, but when we went through week by week a month or two ago,
yeah,
I think I may have had us at 2-2, but
it's like right around there.
In retrospect, we're still on track for where we thought we would be. In some aspects, a little better. In some aspects, not as good. But
yeah,
all in all, we're in the same realm. I'm not getting ahead of myself. So
no,
like you guys have kind of mentioned it. This week's the true test. We're playing against what a lot of people think has the potential to be the best team in the NFL this year.
They're definitely one of the 2 best teams in the NFC.
And I mean, this far they've looked fairly unstoppable, just completely dominant in most phases of their games. I mean, you had Christian McCaffrey have 4 touchdowns last week?
Yeah, against the team that beat us.
And you've got a great defense to go along with a dynamic offense. It's hard to beat that team. And I think most of us, if not all of us, prior to the season, chalked this game up as a loss. And so that's where we come into the reality of, okay, we're coming into this game expecting a loss. So are we going to be happy if and or when it happens? No, because it's never fun to lose. But it's one of those things where it's like, okay, we expected this. Let's get geared back up for next week again.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. That's the thing, though, is like, sure, we expect to lose. But even if we do lose, I'm going to be like, I think fans and all of us should be frustrated, and rightfully so, because it's like, on one hand, you look like you could be world beaters, and on the other hand, it's kind of a reality check where if you don't win against San Francisco, and worse, if you get obliterated by San Francisco, it's just like, okay.
Well, there's a difference between being competitive against the best teams and a consistency problem as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
Cowboys just have a consistency problem. They have the UT disease where they tend to play to their opponent.
Mm-hmm.
And you get a good opponent, they'll play well, keep it close for most of the game. You get a bad opponent, they may get slapped around in the face a little bit, like it happened against the Cardinals.
Which was the thing that happened in the Cardinals game. I mean,
exactly.
So
that's really where I'm hoping the Cowboys come to play, knowing what's at stake and knowing the kind of caliber team they're playing. But if they come out and now, I'm not expecting the Cowboys to get blown out or anything, but I mean, if we have a competitive loss, I don't see that as a bad thing. Like we expected, we called it a loss coming into the season.
Mm-hmm.
If we have a close loss, like less than 1 score or so, we can pretty much say we went toe to toe with one of the best teams in the league, which is probably a good sign, right?
Maybe if it was,
does it help our record? No. But if we keep it close, then that should be a good sign. And I mean, again, it all depends on what happens, right? Because say we lose by 1 score, but we had 3 filthy turnovers, then you're pissed because you probably should have won that game.
It does go back to that consistency thing that you're talking about. Because if they do manage to keep it close, which nobody likes a moral victory. There's no such thing. But like if you can keep it
Preach.
close, that's nice. But then you come out and you look bad against the Chargers or whoever, and it's like, okay, now what are we doing? And then you look like Arkansas, like they did on Saturday.
We'll get to that in a minute. But I mean, what happens? I think James was right. If we lose by one, okay, by one score, how did we lose? But we'll see. We'll see what happens.
And it also depends on how you lose.
Hopefully, they have some fire under their belt after getting eliminated twice in a row in the playoffs by this team. So we'll see.
Third time's the charm, but then again, no, it's not. So I guess we'll find out.
And it's not in the postseason, so who cares?
They say things happen in threes.
Exactly.
Nobody cares if it's not in the postseason.
All right, boys. So that's enough Cowboys.
Oh.
Our next topic is the dreaded one for our dear friend, Mr. Bird.
Dude, I don't even know.
Razorbacks, man. We were at the game.
Whoa. Hold on. We were at something. I'm not calling that a game.
It was a game.
I don't know what the fuck that was. That was boring, vanilla, bland. That's right, boring. One of the most awful called games as a Razorback fan.
Well,
and
for me,
that was
I'm honestly
bad,
perplexed.
It was the most poorly executed game that I have seen Arkansas run in a very long time. And
I'm honestly
I'm extremely frustrated
yet.
Because what Pittman said at his press conference, he goes, they did exactly what we expected them to do. He's referring to them. I'm just going, then why didn't you prepare for it? And if they did what you thought they were going to do, why didn't you have other plans to try and counter that? So that was, I'll shut up.
JC?
I don't want to say it was a complete waste. It was just really, really frustrating to watch because for whatever reason, it felt like Dan Enos just refused to adjust.
Mm-hmm.
I understand wanting to establish the run and run the ball because there was definitely a couple of good plays running the ball, but the reality of it is your offensive line's playing inconsistently and you're going up against one of the best defensive lines in the country. So why are you going to try to run
into a wall
every single play? Yeah.
Because you talk about the same guy who decides that after 3 failed attempts that he's still going to try and put his 6'3", 250-pound quarterback, who is a brick wall, at in the shotgun formation on 3rd and 1. He's done this 4 times. I don't understand. I don't understand why you have a quarterback that's that big. Why you don't put him under center and get somebody to push him like Philadelphia does. And that goes back to the consistency thing. You look at how they.
Here's my problem, right? It just felt like at the end of the day, Arkansas lost they lost the game based on what their head coach's specialty is.
Yes.
Their offensive line did not do their job, right? You can put a blame on a bunch of different people, but the reality of it is the offensive line played terribly poorly.
That's 100% a fact.
I'm not going to necessarily blame them for the run game because you expected to go up against a bad or a great defensive line. So you expect to have some troubles there.
Yeah.
My frustration with the run game is the play calling. You get the ball in I think it's at the 7-yard line, 1st and goal, and you run it 3 straight times.
Well, and here's the thing.
Why are you going to run the ball 3 straight times with goal to goal? And Aiden, I called it too. I said they're going to run it 3 straight times here when we were talking at the game.
Here's the most annoying part about that is that I'm not, KJ is not the best quarterback, but you have the receivers on Arkansas across the board go about 6'4". So why the hell are we not trying to throw the ball in the red zone?
Well, and here's the other thing,
goes
right?
back to something I said the first time I saw him play.
You have goal to go at the 7, right?
Mm-hmm.
1st and goal. You run it 3 straight times.
Yep.
On a condensed field against one of the best defensive lines in the country with a spotty offensive line. that situation alone should be blaring red flags in your head if you're Dan Enos. At least try some kind of wrinkle. I told Aiden when we were leaving, they had so many plays set up for play action, and they never pulled the trigger. They ran it every single play. They set up play action, and all you need to do is, okay, KJ, pull it and throw it, right?
Yep.
And the other side of the things I was saying is because the offensive line wasn't playing very well, the receivers didn't have time to get open. Like it's like KJ has a defensive lineman in his lap in under 2 seconds.
Yep.
Most of the play.
It's kind of like it's kind of like Daniel Jones.
Yeah. And so that's really where they lost the game, was the offensive line, because I feel like their defense played more or less played well enough to win the game, and special teams was good, but your offense was not able to operate hardly at all.
The other thing, I think the defense played well, but A&M at times it felt like they didn't want to win that game. Like they gave it to us multiple times, and it's just like at some point, like you got to roll him out, or you got to make it to where it's not so easy to go get him. If you got a bad offensive line like you do, why are you putting him in a pocket that collapses, so quickly? So it's about putting him in situations, and they're just not putting him there. And like you said, that is Sam Pittman's bread and butter, and it is the worst thing on our team. The offensive line is the worst thing on the team.
And the one time they don't put him under center. Hold on. The one time they don't put him under center was, again, on the 4th and 1, and you have a 250-pound quarterback.
They did it on 3rd and 1, also in the 4th or the 3rd. That's the 4th or 5th time that he's done that. I like. Please tell me what person would put if you had Peyton Manning back there, I would still put him under center, because at that point, if it's 4th and 1 and you put him at shotgun, congratulations, it's a 4th and 5. If you can honestly sit here with a straight face and tell me that's a smart play, you shouldn't even be talking about football. You shouldn't even be coaching football, let alone talking about it.
And because of that, and amongst other reasons, including the one that have led up to this point, the way that handle press conference and the way that Pittman refuses to say, no, we're not running this play. Pittman looks like he's running away from the problem, and he looks like he's in over his head, just based on listening to him.
Well, on one hand, it's commendable because it didn't look like anybody wanted to take the job, and he was, and it was a bad situation to begin with. But yeah, no, it really feels like that, and I've never wanted him to fail, and I hopefully I'm hoping that somewhere along the way he figures this crap out. But it's just like, man, at the beginning of the year, before the season started, I said this team could go win 10 games or 4, depending on the coaching situations. And so far in coaching situations, whenever it come down to the coaching, Arkansas is 0-3. You talk about the BYU game, you talk about that situation at the end of the game against LSU, and you talk about whatever happened on Saturday. All 3 of those losses go back to the coaches.
I 100% agree. It's one of those things where you blame the coaching staff for several things. You definitely had some players not necessarily executing well. No. You can't like Isaiah Satania cannot cough that ball up, even though I don't know how in the hell they call it Arkansas ball.
Because he did not.
Because there's no way that was Arkansas ball. But
no.
That's one of those sloppy fumbles, right? That shouldn't have happened in the first place. Because he basically made himself fumble it. But you get when you mix a game of poor execution on the players' ends with a highly questionable play call script from the OC, you're not setting yourself up for success in that game. Mm-hmm. And that's really what it felt like. It kind of felt like Arkansas was fighting with a butter knife in a
The gunfight.
in a katana fight.
Okay.
Like you're super basic on your scheme. You're running the ball way more often than you're throwing it against a team that you can hit them deep. You can hit them on deep throws, outside throws, things like that. Now you've got to have time for your quarterback to get there, but I'm surprised not more of those plays were called, or even like I mentioned, play actions, right? Because guess what? Hand the ball off, keep it, bootleg out, and somebody's probably open.
Mhm.
Now, if their secondary is just blanketing guys, there's not much you can do about that either, right? But more often than not, somebody's open. So call your play action, pull it, tuck it, get it to somebody down the field when you're actually paying attention to it.
Yep. It's frustrating to see what's going on with them, because I mean they very easily could be they very easily could be a one-loss team, if not possibly undefeated, depending on how you play that. And now you got to turn around and you got to go play a Ole Miss team that did beat LSU and should be pretty confident. And not only that, but you have to go into Vaught Hemingway Stadium and try to win a game after you look like crap. But
Well, and here's the thing, right? A&M gets Bama this week. We're going to really find out if Texas A&M has improved and see if they can knock off Bama, or if Bama just started slow again like they normally do. Took a loss to Texas. It was close against USF.
a lot closer than it should have been.
Oh, yeah. Things like that, right? And so this
Didn't play good against Ole Miss either, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
Managed to win that game.
And so that's what I'm saying is we're going to figure out pretty quickly what the heck Alabama's doing because of their game against Texas A&M. We want to see what happens there because that changes a lot of things dynamically later in the season.
Yep. Well, regardless of what happens, basketball season is around the corner. And actually, the Arkansas Red Right game is tonight. So they start.
Nobody cares. Haha. It's football season, nerd. Alas. That's enough Arkansas depression. Now, ladies and gentlemen.
Hold on. My mic was muted. I was just saying, never
That's
heard someone so excited for a basketball team that finished Sweet 16 last year. Go further.
There's a lot of people that do that.
Coward. Giving up on his team already.
Now, that's enough of the BS. Ladies and gentlemen, this is what you came to see because this week is the best week of the football season, bar none. It's the Red River week. I don't care if you're not a fan. OU Texas is one of the biggest games of the year every year. And this year, boy, do we have a doozy.
We do
have a top 15 matchup in number 3 Texas with number 12 OU. Both teams are undefeated in the Cotton Bowl. It's going to be a gorgeous day at the fair on Saturday. High of 72.
Oh.
And we're going to have a lot of fun. And there has been so much trash talk back and forth on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it, that we would miss if we didn't at least cover this game. I know we did a whole big preview last year. I don't know if we need to do that, but this game is going to be really, really fascinating for multiple reasons. And I have my official pick I would like to make at some point during this preview. With that being said, boys, what are your opening thoughts?
I think it's nice for the rivalry after what happened last year. I mean, not just say that it was, it's at Red River, so it's always going to be hyped. But I mean, that as far as Red River goes, last year was just not hyped at all.
Beautiful.
For you, but nationwide, like it wasn't hyped at all. So for the rivalry, it's nice. And I mean, both teams have been kind of rolling, and I think both teams are better. But I think that Texas is going to be able to beat Oklahoma pretty easily. 5.
I would be remiss if I said I did not agree with you. I think OU will put up a pretty good fight, but at the end of the day, we got better and a lot better this year, and our depth is almost unmatched. So that's what I like. I will give OU. They have, if there's any reason to have any motivation, use last year's bulletin board material.
And they actually have a
competent They actually have a competent quarterback back there this year instead of Gumby. I mean Davis Bevel.
It's Gumby to you.
It's Gumby for those who don't know. But I think it'll be interesting. I think this is the first time I've witnessed at least that I can remember, one where UT was a favorite by almost a touchdown, let alone. So that's what I think. I'm not going to give a score prediction because we never know at this rivalry. So
you have to give one. It's mandatory.
I'm not giving one. No, I'm not doing it unless Chris does it, but I'm not.
I'm not doing it either.
I am going to force you guys to give a score prediction because I am giving one. That being said, I'll go first. But first, I'm going to give my spiel because I've been doing some research, watching a lot of other people's thoughts, and, people go back and forth and think this or think that. It's just a big mess. And to your point, nobody ever knows what Red River's going to do. Okay. As much as I don't disagree, Texas got better. I think OU got significantly better compared to last year. That being said, I don't know if they're better than Texas. Okay.
Yeah.
Actually, I mean, to be fair, OU has a higher blue chip ratio than Texas, but that's besides the point. It's like 63% versus 61%. It's basically the same. But like I said, I believe OU got significantly better compared to last year. Being the second year in Brent Venables' system, you've got a bunch of returning players, and we have a bunch of transfers in that are older and experienced. In addition, you've got a healthy starting quarterback this year. That being said, also, this is Dylan Gabriel's first real big game as a Sooner because he missed all the games last year, outside of the bowl game, right? Florida State. If you want to call that a big game, you can, whatever. This is going to be his biggest game as a Sooner. And how is he going to respond to that? Is he going to come out and, curl up and shit the bed? Or is he going to come out guns blazing and have people thinking if he's better, that he might be better than Quinn Ewers? Who knows, right?
I think the key to that would be the first few minutes of that ball game.
You see, and here's where I'm going to disagree. Well, I'm going to agree and disagree. Because what we've seen from both Oklahoma and Texas this year is we've seen adjustments over the course of the game where both teams in the first quarter, first half, even up to 3 quarters or more, the teams have seemed to start slow and struggle to some extent. But what we see from both teams is the ability to make adjustments at halftime and in the second half and shut teams down and pull away. And an example of that is like OU last week against Iowa State. It was 21-20 before halftime or 20 minutes into the game. Over the last 40 minutes of the game, Iowa State barely got 90 total yards on offense.
You could make the same argument. You could make the argument though for UT.
Oh yeah, because what was it? It was basically 14-14, right?
It was no. It was. They had 14 and we had, I think, 7. Something in there. I think
Kansas was hanging in there for what, a quarter and a half, and then Texas said, "All right, we're going to pull away."
Yeah. I think it was Texas got up pretty got up 13-0 or something like that,
Mm-hmm.
and then it felt like Texas got kind of complacent in the second quarter, and then I feel like I don't know if it was talk or whatever, but it felt like they got back to okay, let's make sure that this game ends.
Well, so here's a couple things in addition to, well, going back to what I was saying, I fully believe one of the big determinants in this game is going to be the team's abilities to adjust.
Mm-hmm.
Because I feel as though both teams will land punches initially, but who can get back up the quickest and make changes the quickest? I fully believe that might be a determinant in the game. 2, this game's going to be won in the trenches. I fully believe that Texas's defensive line versus OU's offensive line is one of the biggest mismatches in this game. While I think OU's offensive line is better than last year's, Texas defensive line is definitely the better matchup for them. Not only consistency-wise, but also OU's, I don't want to say lack of a run game, but inconsistent run game at best. If Texas's defensive line is able to swallow up our running backs and make us one-dimensional, it's going to be a long day. That being said, if we're able to pull out some, trick plays or wrinkles that allow us to catch Texas's defensive line off guard, things might get interesting. The same thing goes the other way. OU's defensive line versus Texas offensive line. I feel like so far, OU's defensive line has been fairly vanilla, and since Big 12 play started, we've started getting a little bit more pressure on quarterbacks. While we don't necessarily have a ton of TFLs and sacks, we've got pressure more. And one thing people aren't talking about enough is Kelvin Banks got beat quite a bit last week against Kansas, and you don't want to compare Kansas's guys against OU's guys because OU's guys are going to win on the edges. That's just a fact. And so OU's ability to create pressure on Quinn Ewers is going to be another tournament because when Quinn Ewers is under pressure, his QBR and accuracy goes way down. Way down. And that's really where if OU is able to create pressure, can Quinn Ewers make those big throws down the field to all his weapons?
Mm-hmm.
It'll be interesting to see. I mean, I know right now, we have one of the best, if not the best, O-line, so that's the big key. Can you make pressure or not? I think you hit the biggest nails on the head going into this weekend. One, can OU get run gain? 2, run gain. What are we?
Well, and here's the wrinkle, right? Here's the wrinkle to the OU run game.
Hold on. 2.
Then get it out.
Get pressure. Can they get pressure? I don't know. Shut up.
Okay, now you're done. When it comes to the OU run game, here's the wrinkle. Dylan Gabriel. We haven't done it a lot this year, but we've definitely done it more this year than last year. Is Dylan Gabriel running the ball? We saw it several times last week against Iowa State, and we were pretty successful with it. Last year, OU was incredibly scared to run Dylan Gabriel because of what we had behind him. This year, they feel a little bit more comfortable with what's behind him. Now, am I saying this season is Jackson Arnold the savior? Hell no. But for future years, he's looking pretty good. And having that kind of 5-star talent guy behind him, you feel a little bit more comfortable with Dylan Gabriel running the ball. And I feel as though because we haven't put a ton of QB runs on tape yet this year, there's a big opportunity for that this weekend. And if we're able to utilize it properly, it could be a dangerous weapon. All that being said, just to recap, I have the coaching staff's ability to make adjustments. Big key to the game, both ways. We have in the trenches, OU offense, Texas defense, vice versa. Who's winning those matchups?
Yeah.
We've got OU run game. big thing. If we're one dimensional, do I feel as though OU can have some deep chances against Texas's secondary? Sure. We saw Bama could do it a little bit, and we saw Kansas start with it pretty quickly last week, but then it got shut down. And then lastly, mental mistakes. I feel like both teams so far have done a pretty good job with this, where we haven't got pretty sloppy or messy. But with Red River, people tend to be on edge and make dumb decisions. What team can stay the cleanest?
Mm-hmm.
That'll be big. Lastly, this is a completely wild fact that doesn't mean anything, but I'm going to throw it out there. 5 of the last 6 Red River winners were the away team wearing white. The only exception was 2020 COVID year. And OU is the white.
Anything.
And OU is the away team this year.
That doesn't mean anything. I hate those stats. That means nothing. That is just
all this being said, I have a score prediction to provide.
I can't wait to hear this.
OU 50-0. No, I'm kidding.
I was about to say, what?
OU 50-0 just to spite Texas. You know, you guys got 49-0 last year. I sat through the whole thing. It was miserable. This year, screw Texas. We're dropping 50-0 just to prove a point. No, that's not the real prediction. So
you said that already.
So what we've got here is Texas minus 6.5, over and under at 60.5. I am taking OU plus 6.5 with Texas to win. My score prediction is Texas 31-27. 2 reasons. There is so much hype.
You trust our kicker?
Not necessarily, but at that score, he only has to make 1 field goal. Right? Like, okay, whatever. I'm picking Texas 31-27 for a couple things. I believe it's going to be closer than people expect because there is so much hype behind Texas this year, and rightfully so for the most part. Like, they're a good team. Historically, when there's been a lot of hype behind Texas, they tend to crumble a little bit. And so, do I think that's going to cost them the game this year? Absolutely not. They're a really good team, and they probably win this game. But because of that, I do think it will end up being closer than we expect.
I think it will be too. I honestly don't know who's going to win. I could see a few wins.
The other reason.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Continue.
The other reason why I'm picking this score is because it doesn't matter who Texas has played this year. They've scored 30 plus. It doesn't matter if you're playing Rice or Alabama. You've been in the 30s. And I feel confident, even though OU has the 4th best scoring defense in the country this year, giving up 10.5 points a game or whatever it is. I feel confident in Texas' ability to put up 30 if they're schemed the right way, right? My question is, what kind of offense is OU going to bring out? Are they going to bring out the good offense or the questionable offense? Because if they bring out the good offense, we could probably hang right there and score 30 plus as well. If we get the spotty offense, I don't think we're going to score 30. So that's really where I think, especially against a good defense that Texas has. That being said, I have this game close, and because of the good defenses we have, I've taken the under as well. I guess so. 31-27 gives you a total point scored of 58. Yes, now I'm done.
Okay, cool. No, I enjoyed that. I enjoyed that thoroughly. I respect everything you just said. What the hell? I don't want to be alone. Okay, fine. I'll be alone. I don't care. I'll be alone. I don't need you to. I'll take you both out. No, I'm kidding. I respect everything you said. I do think, to summarize as a whole, OU did get better. I have seen on X. Fuck you, Chris. It's X.
That's Twitter.
I've seen that. This is why you're an Arkansas fan.
Continue.
What's your point?
I refuse. I do make a lot of beds, and I do stand on a lot of that I will die on. And one of them I will die on is this: the statistics going into a little bit of Texas too, but more so for Oklahoma. The statistics going into this game for their offense and their defense, for all of their fans, their perspective is they have played bottom of the barrel, awful teams, with the exception of Cincy. They've done well, and I'm even throwing my alma mater in there because SMU is a soft team, an incredible soft team. So I think they're, as a team, they did get better, but I refuse to believe that wholeheartedly that they are the fourth best defense in the nation, statistically speaking. But that being said, I think it is going to be close because it is going to be a rival. I don't know. It could be close. I could see Texas going in and blowing it out of the water because Texas plays up the opponent. And like it or not, OU, to this point, has earned the right to be the 12th ranked team. And to your point and your point.
This is where, to this point, I honestly, like, I understand the sentiment of the whole opponent's ability things. That's such a you know, at this point, it's such a cop-out excuse. Like, I'm tired of hearing it. But to your point, Texas plays to their opponent. And guess what? You've got a lot of players on this team this year that played in that game last year. Which may end up giving them the perspective of, hey, we did this to OU last year. We're going to roll in here and do it again. If you come in with the mentality, you might just slap you in the face.
That's an upset. That's potentially an upset.
So I don't know. I think it's
scenario.
Are you for Chris? Are you giving a score prediction?
I want a score prediction from you two. I gave one.
Fine, but that being said, I think it'll be interesting. I think more or less offensively, it's going to be the same game plan, which Jonathan Brooks really well. He's been running the ball extremely well. But
he has no doubt.
We'll see. And
he's 100% been running the ball incredibly well. That being said, I have on the defensive side of the ball, I have most confidence in our run defense.
But we'll see.
Of anything on defense, I feel the best about our run defense.
But that being said, on the passing side of it, our receivers are ginormous. Our depth is better, and I think JT is good to go. But we'll find that out for sure tomorrow. He should be, at least. I know that was a question mark. It's simple. Throw it up and let them go get the ball. We saw that last year, and even in the years where it was close with lesser quarterbacks, that's what they did. I'm going to say my score prediction.
I will say we aren't as small in the secondary as we used to be. Are we massive? No, but we've definitely got some better size there.
It's okay. Anyway, to make my point, I think this is going to be, I'll call it, I don't know, 42-35. I'm guessing now.
Fascinating.
In favor of UT. And the reason why I will say this also, Texas does have experience this year in massive games. And the big one that I'm going to say is they rolled into Tuscaloosa with that atmosphere and beat Alabama. And I think having that experience under your belt this year is going to pay dividends this year in Red River, especially when you have returning players. So we'll see. And we'll see. And you've made the points I would just be repeating about
so
OU and experience.
You have Texas covering currently. The line could move. As of Wednesday night, you have Texas covering and the overhitting. So you have gone completely opposite of how I've gone. Interesting. Okay. Mr. Birdman.
I don't have one. Good night. No.
Your prediction as a third party, impartial third party.
So for me, I can see a scenario where Texas comes in, even though
And
it's a
lays an egg.
rivalry game. Even though it's a rivalry game, they played down to Oklahoma because it was a 40. You know, a lot of those guys experienced it last year. It was 49-0. So why would it be really any different, despite the fact that they've played better? So I could see a scenario where they struggle for a little bit. But
Oh, sure.
I do think that Texas covers. Um, and I'm gonna say that they win the game. I'm gonna go with like 35-25, something like that.
So you think
Okay.
it's going to get weird at some point with that 25 points?
Something like that. Like I can see a thing where Texas or Oklahoma gets out to a lead, but it's not enough, and Texas's talent kind of just they refocus and they find a way to win that game. And who knows, maybe it's just one of those you know just cheap scores at the end of the game to make it more
And
than what it was.
Well, and that's the interesting thing. I totally understand your point because you have Texas covering, but you also have the under hitting slightly 60, close. This is really where I don't feel like there's going to be. This game has a real opportunity to be close down to the wire,
And it could also be
because of the team's abilities to close games. Both
Yeah.
teams have shown the ability to make adjustments and close games really well. Who's going to be able to do it best is going to come out. It's going to be who wins the game.
And the other thing is that it's a potential preview of the Big 12 championship game, not
They're
just
going to
because
see
of
each
the
other
two
again.
You don't think 4-0 West Virginia is going to throw a wrench in it?
Well, hold on. Not just because of how good the two teams have been, but because of
I don't think they're
how
4-0, but never mind.
how bad some of those Big 12 teams are. I mean, you have Baylor, Baylor and Iowa State have been not great. I mean, Texas tossed Kansas to the curb. Oklahoma
sorry.
Oklahoma State is sorry. So it's just like, not only is it because of the two teams, Oklahoma and Texas being better, but because it's not been a good conference. It's arguably the worst conference in football right now.
The Big 12 has done almost exactly what I expected it to do going into the year. They're doing the Pac-12 thing, where they are cannibalizing themselves top to bottom pretty much. And outside of OU and Texas, the winner of this game is going to be the last undefeated team in the conference.
Yeah.
Yep.
And
Yep.
That being said, though, I mean, I think it will be a good game. Either way, we're probably going to see each other again. Which, honest with you, I would rather, if I had it my way, I would rather say both of us make the Big 12 championship. And James, I think I speak for you too. I would rather lose this game than in December. If I had to pick, but
absolutely. It's like the Cowboys playing the Niners in the regular season whenever they beaten us twice in the postseason.
No, I'll be honest.
If we get the Big 12
I will take a repeat of 2018.
Of course you will. Offensively and defensively, or just result?
Just results against Texas.
Okay. So that makes my point. All in all, I think it'll be a good game.
I'll take a close loss in the Cotton Bowl for a win in Jerry World.
About to say that the Jerry World is the Cotton Bowl now. I'm kidding.
I'm still adamant.
Kidding.
I'm still adamant that the 2018 Red River game is probably one of my top 3 favorite sporting events I've ever attended.
Sure.
Even though we lost, incredible atmosphere, and then to come back and avenge our death against Texas in the Big 12 championship game, what a season! And I'd absolutely take that again.
Sure. I'll say this, James, as we close, I think we both agree we don't know what's going to happen. Hear and predict all day long, and all 3 of us are probably wrong, knowing how it's going to go. OU all we know. But I'll say this. Even though I hate the crap out of you guys, mad respect to y'all. I love y'all's decoration. It'll be fun. We'll be there. I found this meme on social media that describes how we probably feel spending this much money. If you can hold on, can't see it. Maybe you can. Here we go.
Hopefully tomorrow will be fully charged.
After all this money,
I
after
actually
all this money we've spent, but I will say this.
I have a better one. I actually have a better one. Here's a better one.
Oh yeah. So I
may never financially recover.
I do have to give you some props though. I seriously did not think you were going to come and with you love your beloved Sooners and openly say you think that I got to give you some props, man.
I will openly admit I will be very inebriated this weekend.
You might need to be.
I think we both will be. Before we get out of here, I do want to say this. All the truck I've seen on Twitter, James, this is probably a stupid question, but you know who Teddy Lehman is, correct?
I know who Teddy Lehman is, yes.
Layman, because he's lame, actually sounds better. Can suck ass for calling Quinn Ewers average at best. Go talk about just no respect whatsoever for the talent. I have mad respect for the players on your side of the field. For him to sit there and on his show and pre-Red River and say Ewers is average at best and give Gabriel such high regard in return is just bullshit. But
look, I'm not going to perfectly defend Teddy Lehman. He's an abrasive dude. That's point blank period. His perspective, I'm sure, is Dylan Gabriel's been around college football for years now. I mean, he's top 3 in college football history in terms of stats. Quinn's ceiling is first quarterback off the board in the NFL draft. He also has a pretty low floor too if he's inconsistent. Mm-hmm. And I think that's where that statement's coming from is while Quinn can be really, really good, we've seen some inconsistency.
There has been some inconsistencies, but
there has been in the past. But dude, he is an abrasive dude. And
well, and the other trouble I have with the argument is, I mean, I listened to Texas podcasts all week. They're like,
we're just as bad.
No more than I was listening to Orange Blood yesterday. Jeff Ketchum is that whole place is a bunch of tools, but they wholeheartedly believe no more than 4 players on OU's team would start for Texas.
You can't make that claim. We know that's wrong.
The 4 players they believe would start for this Texas team. The kicker. You have who was it? You have Peyton Bowen at safety. Not Billy Bowen. Peyton Bowen. You have Drake Stoops over Jordan Whittington.
Really?
And Danny Stutzman at linebacker over David Benda. I agree with all of those. They made a couple other points as far as like players that could, but maybe not. Like Ethan Downs over Ethan Burke. Things like that. Honestly, I'd take a handful of our edge guys over Ethan Burke. That's just me. But and I know I listened, but I they didn't go too far in depth of like what they took into consideration of that. But in return, that's basically saying OU has a bunch of mid players, even though our blue chip ratio is higher than Texas's. Does Texas have more high end 5-stars? Absolutely. But when it comes to depth, OU technically has more.
But didn't you say the blue chip ratio was basically identical?
Yeah. I mean, it's like 63 or 64% to like 60 or 61%. It's pretty close.
Sure.
But to basically trash OU's entire roster, save a couple, that's just completely off base.
Somebody just gave their final score prediction. Texas 45, OU 24.
I'm sure it could happen. There's definitely a
I
world
don't know
that
about that.
I posted this on Twitter the other day because somebody tweeted what do we think the score could be, or what do you think the predictions for the game are? And on Twitter I didn't give a score prediction, but my prediction was a reverse of the 2019 game, the Jalen Hurts game.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Where
See that.
Where OU controlled that entire game, but never pulled away. Like it was a relatively close game. Like I think OU only won by 12 points. I think like it wasn't a blowout.
I can see that as well.
But
Scenario
I
that.
can see that. I'm more inclined to think that
it was definitely a relatively close game. But throughout that game, OU controlled the whole game to where you never really felt like Texas was going to win it. I could see that going Texas's way this year.
Yeah.
Where it's it's a 1 or 2 score game, but it never really feels like it's in reach for OU.
I could see that.
And honestly, like that might be the most likely situation this year. I hope it's not, because that just seems kind of boring. Like I want a fun, like tight back and forth game. If it goes over or under, I don't really care. I just want a tight back and forth game.
Like last year.
We're done here. That's it.
Hey, we'll have a handshake.
All right.
And we'll have a drink.
Come on, James.
Go Rangers.
Raise your hand later.
Go Rangers.
Team win.
ALDS, here we come. We're gonna play the
Baltimore O's.
The Orioles in Baltimore. We split the season series. Let's see what we can accomplish. It's 10:05 and Texas still sucks.
Boomer loser, baby.
I'll
Boomer
let y'all
loser.
talk.
Y'all
can argue with each other.
Thanks again for watching, listening. We'll see you when we see you.
Go Rangers. I cannot wait for the Longhorns to park in